Hi! Starting is the worst part. It's always been the worst part. Hi! Hi! I can't not say it like that. It's Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel if you're coming back. And if you're new, I already introduced myself, so I don't know what more you want. Welcome to car therapy. You're my therapist. Or I'm your therapist? No. If I appear sick at all, it's because I am. I have COVID. I've been taking all of the necessary precautions, and I feel okay, so don't worry. So this is a tiny bit of a follow-up to my last video, which I filmed months ago, but just wanted to say thank you to everybody who responded to it or watched it. I don't think I was expecting the amount of warmth that I received from that video. Everyone was so respectful in the comments, even from members of the church. Oh, speaking of churches, I am actually in a church parking lot today. Shout out to the Mormon church. Say what you will about them, but they have nice parking lots, and a lot of them. As grateful as I am for the comments in my last video, some of the responses did inspire this video. So these are just some concerning patterns that I've noticed throughout my time as an ex-Mormon, and so I thought I could come on here and complain about it. So, the first thing that you should not say to someone who is leaving the church, and I think this would apply to people who are leaving any high demand religion, but the first thing you should not say is, "Where will you go?" And I think a lot of ex-Mormons are familiar with this phrase. This phrase is meant to spark guilt and fear in the person. And it creates this false narrative that there are no other places to go. I think to a lot of people inside Mormonism that feels true. Like a lot of high demand religions, Mormonism is full of a lot of us versus them messages. So the world is one thing, and then Mormons are their own separate thing. And the world is like a fallen, scary, dark, dangerous place. But it comes up a lot when members are talking to ex-members because it's them kind of projecting their own fear onto you. And just like as a rule in any conversation, coming from a place of fear or judgment or condescension is never going to get you anywhere, so don't do it. Number 2, do not bear your testimony or say something like, "The church is perfect, but the people aren't." No, actually, the church isn't perfect. That's probably why they're leaving. A lot of people have been harmed by the church. You're not going to convince them of anything with your spiritual fervor, no matter how strongly you feel. Because chances are they once felt that strongly too. All they're going to feel is ignored and uncomfortable and invalidated. Number 3, don't try to engage them in a debate. Not about history, not about doctrine. They might be, depending on the person, interested in debating you back. Ultimately, if changing their mind or getting them to come back is your goal, you're not going to get anywhere because you're both in the defensive. Number 4 is a big one. Don't say anything that alludes to the idea that they should still believe in Christianity or a Christian God, especially when the person hasn't shown any kind of interest. Personally, I consider myself ex-Christian as well as ex-Mormon, even though I know that Mormonism is not like regular Christianity. So yeah, just don't assume. Don't say anything like, "But you still believe in God, right?" Or, "But that shouldn't turn you away from," like, insert beliefs here. A lot of people who are freshly out of high demand religions don't know what they believe. And so pressuring them to commit to a belief or insinuating that they should turn to a different belief can be really stressful and ultimately harmful. Little side note, atheism or agnosticism is not a lack in morals. I think if the only thing keeping you from doing bad things is your fear of punishment or your desire for reward or pleasing a god, then I think that you might have some serious self-analysis to do. Just saying. Don't ask people what's gonna stop you from going out and killing people or robbing banks? Like, no, don't try to scare people away from atheism just because you're afraid of atheism. Number 5, do not trivialize or minimize their issues that they have with the church. Don't say like, oh, that's only this many things, or that's not that bad. I think this especially applies to people who are mid-faith crisis. Just dismissing everything isn't going to make the faith crisis go away. All that's going to do is make them feel dumb and guilty for having doubts. And trust me, they already feel guilty enough. They don't need any more. You're not gonna make the doubts worse by empathizing with them because they're having a rough time. If they're close enough to you to open up to you like that, it's then your job to decide if ultimately your discomfort is more important than their need for support. Number 6, don't send them missionaries or church-related materials or force them into church-related activities. It's the same as the previous reasons. You're not going to change their mind. Even if you genuinely feel that you have the best of intentions, ultimately you are not respecting that person's decision, and you're just further damaging the relationship by demonstrating that you don't listen. So I would consider what boundaries this person has set with you, or even ask them what boundaries would be beneficial to have in your relationship. And you're allowed to set boundaries too if they're sharing things with you that you don't appreciate. It's not like a one-way thing. However, I do think that if you want them to read or study things that you send them, you should be willing to hear out their arguments as well. I don't see that going anywhere, but if that's something that you really want for your relationship, then go for it. Honestly, this whole video could just be summed up into boundaries. That's it. That's the whole video. Bye, guys. Number 7, you are allowed to mourn, but you are not allowed to victimize yourself. So don't say, why did this happen to me? Or how could you do this? Or anything like that. Honestly, your relationship, like how you relate to each other, will probably change. And there's mourning that happens there, for sure. But it should be noted that the other person is also mourning that. The other person is probably mourning that with every person they know. So just be like patient and compassionate, and it will probably be weird for a while, and that's okay. I think willingness to sit in the discomfort is where true connections really happen. Through that, you'll find new things to bond over, and it'll take time, but if both people stick it out, it'll be worth it. Number 8, I wanted to say don't immediately cut them completely out of your life, just all the way. But honestly, if you're someone who would do that, then you're probably way beyond help anyways, and the person is probably way better off without you. I think with like casual friends especially, sometimes it just kind of happens. You don't even purposely do it. You just don't have anything in common anymore, especially friends that you only saw in church settings. So I'm not talking about casual friends, like really casual friends. I think that's different. But with close people, if you're the type of person who cuts someone off just because they have a slightly different ideology than you, then I need you to get conditional love tattooed on your forehead, because that's exactly what you're doing. And conditional love is not real love. It's not love at all. Number 9, this is the final one, I think. Do not say, I still love you, or I love you even though, or I love you but, I love you despite. These kind of things imply that the person's worth or lovability has changed or lessened somehow. And you are so great that you're willing to overlook it. And that's shitty. Don't do that. So instead of saying, I love you still, I would say just, I love you the same amount, or I support you, or something like that. I definitely know that probably nobody who would need this video will actually watch it, but I hope you got something out of it anyways. The sun is like... If you thought of anything that I left out, feel free to leave it in the comments. Feel free to leave anything in the comments except for anything that I mentioned in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the hell out of you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!